reason why, teaching has been a great sort of way to do that. You're always there, you're talking about the ideas, but if you want to try something that isn't as packageable for the gallery to be able to find a buyer for, you can still do your work. And so that's been that's been the priority, is like, how do you make your situation such that you can, work on the ideas that are interesting and exciting for you, and not make your art practice into, a product or a factory.
Right. And I think that the best way to showcase that is when you work on quantum, right? Because it was, again, it was very revolutionary. And I wonder, can you tell us a bit about that story? Because it was in 2014 when the term NFTs that didn't exist, but right, it was. How did that happen? So you were trying to find ways to distribute a digital object, and you came with this
I
idea.
mean, it was not. It didn't start as a solution to a problem. It started as a question, a kind of thought idea, and I'd heard about, and it connects directly to Bitcoin, and I'd heard about it in 2010, like a number of like, old timers with this post that appeared on the tech blog Slashdot, but didn't really pay attention to it. But I remember at that time, and then learned about it again in the fall of 2012, and then started getting into it. And then, in 2013, the first half of it, I was, reading the white paper and trying to, really understand it, looking at the source code, and then being involved with the the crypto online community at that time, which all took place in mostly in one forum. And, and it was just this, explosion of different ideas, people talking about all these different kinds of things. Not a lot, very little art stuff, almost no art stuff. People were not thinking that way, at least, very much at all. But, for me, the idea was fairly simple in the sense that once I understood that Satoshi had created some notion of digital uniqueness, it's distributable, it's natively digital, it's networked, it's, everyone has the source code's there, all the records on the blockchain are there, it's all there, yet somehow there's this unique thing that one thing is mine and your thing is yours, and I can send my thing to yours and I don't have mine anymore. Was pretty mind-blowing. And then once that idea was, once I kind of understood that, it was this kind of simple step for me. It was like, well, could you make a digital artwork do that? Could an artwork have the same types of properties that Bitcoin has? And then the question was, how would you do it? But then also, what would that object be? What would that thing be? It would be a new kind of thing. And so that was, and then, and I kind of had that idea in the fall of 2013 of thinking about how that could kind of come together. And then, usually in artists' lives, it's deadlines that, make that drive you forward. It's like, the show's coming up. You got to get this work done. Stop messing around. And so the art organization Rhizome had this, we were friends with them, and, they were part of this, community that we were in. And, they knew I was, thinking about these ideas and talking about this stuff just informally. And they invited me to present it at an event at the New Museum in that fall. And so that was like, oh, okay, I guess we've got to I guess I'll kind of do it. But I didn't arrive with it. I arrived with it all mapped out, but I hadn't made anything.
It was conceptual. It was the theory behind it.
Kind of map. I had the map in my mind. It's like, oh, okay, we can do this. Is how we can do it. And then with that conference, the form of it, the conceit of it is to pair an artist with a technologist. Cold. Just put them together. And they paired me with Neil Dash, and and he'd be the first to admit that he's not like a hardcore coder guy. He's he has an amazing career. He's an incredible person with this amazing overview and all kinds of experience. But it was really the right kind of experience, and we really, kind of hit it off. And I just said to him, I've got this idea for digital ownership of digital artworks using blockchains, and he's like, sounds great. And the first thing that we did was to try to come up with the name. What is it? What are we talking about? What is this thing? And that was this hilarious conversation that where we came up with this term and this concept of monetized graphics. These are monetized graphics, and then that became monograph for short. And that was our name for it. These are monographs. But spelled with an E, because MONO, monograph in the art world is a book about a single artist. So it has this kind of singularity idea to it. MONE has this kind of money component to it. So it was monetized graphics. And so in that context, I made three works over that time, and he was he provided these incredibly critical components to that. He knew how to build a web page really fast that could function, so he could have a tool that worked, and how to deploy it. And my knowledge on that would have been slow and halting. He knew about data structures. That was a very important component. But most of all, he was an amazing communicator, and so we were able to put the story together on stage that really walked people, kind of through the process. And so, there were three works created at that time: Quantum, the Cars, and another piece called Primordial Loop, which draws from a net art piece that we made in the 90s. So it was an attempt to kind of bridge those eras together.